Here we are. Hi.
Hello. Worsdell, author for Writers Rock, and I'm interviewing the fabulous Mark McQuillen. Am I saying your name correctly, Mark?
Yes, you are. It's pronounced exactly as it's spelled.
I'm so proud of myself. I keep getting caught out.
me and my Irish Welsh background, that's exactly how it's pronounced.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, I'm going to quickly share our interview live with the Writers Rock group and the Writers Rock Readers group. There we go. I found us.
Hi, boys and girls.
Sorry, Donna, say that again. Say that again.
Hi, boys and girls.
Hopefully, we'll get lots of people joining us today, which will be fantastic. Hopefully, if we can, there we go, Writers Rock Readers and Writers Rock Group. There we go. We're done. Okay, we should be live on both of the other groups as well, which is absolutely fantastic. I've been so excited to actually talk to you, Mark, because I'm a huge fantasy fan myself. And I absolutely love your book covers. They are visually stunning.
Yeah, they're all done by Mara Reisman, who is my co-author. She's the only one that I've ever had as a cover artist or done any of my teasers or anything.
She's very talented. I mean, they're so visually stimulating, and I've got to say that they really pop out at you, which is really important, isn't it? As an author, you want your books to
They're very visually stunning. In fact, I don't know if I posted the one for the latest thing we're doing called Dark and Groves, but Dark and Groves, the cover for Dark and Groves is just amazing.
I'll have to check that out because I think they're absolutely fabulous. Now, tell me a bit about yourself. When did you actually have you always written since childhood?
Well, I come from the events, the D&D world. I'm one of the original players of the D&D game from back in 1974.
Oh my gosh!
I've written dungeons, both professionally and amateur, and that kind of thing. I've consulted for on beta tested games. I've played every video game that they've ever come out with as far as the D&D games go. But I didn't start writing seriously until about 2011.
Right.
I was diagnosed with severe multi-level degenerative disc disease, and I had 3 major surgeries in my back. I couldn't work anymore.
Ouch.
And I started my background as far as fantasy goes. Started with Tolkien. In fact, I share a birthday with the man.
That's quite nice. I mean, he's an absolute.
I started writing Tolkien fan fiction, and I did that for like 4 years.
Wow.
And I took a character who is from the book. He's a wrestler. He's got one line in the whole book. And I created this enormous background world. I did a whole world building thing around it.
That's absolutely amazing.
And I wrote a single character for 4 years. And he's the only one I wrote. Though I do admit I took a trip to the dark side one time and wrote a ring wraith.
Oh really?
Yeah. and everybody's going, oh, crap, it's scary. So I do have a dark side.
It sounds like you have a little flair for that as well. So do you think that your gaming experience really activated your imagination to be able to create worlds? And
yes, and you'll find this is a common thing amongst especially fantasy writers. There are very, very few fantasy writers that have at some point not played the game.
Interesting.
Okay. There's a lot of them like George R.R. Martin. I know Larry Dixon, Mercedes Lackey's husband, is a big gamer. We talk about gaming all the time on Twitter. Yeah, there are a lot of them that's how they got interested in fantasy, is playing D&D.
That's absolutely amazing, because I mean the whole the whole fantasy genre now across the board, movies, books, games, is just it really has exploded, hasn't it?
Right.
In the
Since Game of Thrones, yeah, there's never been a better time to be an epic fantasy writer or a fantasy writer of any kind.
Yeah,
You never know. Some producer may pick up your book and go, "Hey, this will make a great series," and you'll be, next thing you know, you'll be worth $100 million. That's basically what happened to George R.R. Martin.
Yeah,
because George R.R. Martin wrote in obscurity for years.
Yeah,
and he wrote. Did you ever see a series called Beauty and the Beast?
Yes,
with Linda Hamilton and Ron Perlman and all that.
I love that series.
He wrote that.
Did he really? Do you know?
Yeah.
Absolutely never knew that.
Nobody knows. Because if you see the credits, it says written by George R.R. Martin.
That's absolutely fascinating. And I tell you, that's actually really good to know, because I think as authors, it's very easy, isn't it, to get disheartened when it takes so long to build a following, to get your books noticed. It is an everyday struggle to achieve.
And I keep it in mind. It only takes one.
Yeah.
It only takes one book. It's all it takes.
Absolutely.
But you have to be able to put yourself out there and get that book written. Okay. Yeah. And some of the things, I mean, I've learned in this business in the 5 or so years I've been actually doing this full time. It's the first thing that agents and publishers look for is how prolific you are. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay. And so if you're not doing anything, if you've written one book, chances are, unless this book is just out of this world fantastic, you're not going to be able to get yourself a deal.
Yeah.
First of all, you don't have a following. Second of all, you don't have any publishing history. That's another thing that we look at. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think even more so now, because it's so much easier now to self-publish.
Right. And the thing about it is, with the self-publishing world now, you're competing against so many people.
You are absolutely.
And as Lincoln said, there's too many pigs for the tits.
Yeah, that's a very good expression. But
so you gotta hustle. I mean, you gotta do exactly what I do every day. I get online first thing in the morning, and the first 3 hours of my day is doing nothing but posting my books and promotion stuff and doing whatever I have to do to get my name out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing, isn't it? You get out what you put in.
Right.
Yeah. And do you try and schedule your days so, as you said, you promotion in the morning, maybe writing in the afternoon. Do you structure your days like that on a regular basis?
Yeah. It's usually a lot. I'm doing a lot. I stay up till I get up at 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm normally up till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. I mean, I sleep when I'm famous, sort of thing.
I like that.
or sleep is for tortoises.
But you're right, though. I mean, that is the way to be successful is have that drive and that constant enthusiasm to get yourself known and get yourself out there.
That's the goal. I mean, if you're not going to make yourself famous at this, why the hell do it?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's sort of a thing that I just want to do a hobby or whatever. What?
Life
we're in this to make money. Part of the concept you not get.
Exactly. So what inspired you in 2011 to actually really go for it then?
Well, I was basically, I couldn't work anymore. I was basically stuck in I was basically bedridden. And I couldn't move. Yeah. So I got a hold of a tablet and started writing.
And did you find that it helped you? Because I mean, I had a car accident in 2007, and that really sparked my writing to another level.
Yeah, because you need something to keep your mind busy, so you don't go absolutely bonkers.
Yeah, it's very therapeutic, isn't it? Did you find it was a good therapy for you?
Yeah, it was extremely thorough. It was really good because I could express rages and do things and get all that negativity out of my system.
Yeah.
And not have to worry about, what somebody's going to say, well, he's a psycho.
Yes.
And yeah, it helped me a lot to get through all that. As far as, and it took my mind off the pain.
Yeah, that's what.
I mean, once I got into it, I mean, I'd sit there and write for hours and never feel a twinge.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I don't think people realize just how therapeutic writing really, really is. As you said, to, express your emotions, have that bit of an escape from what you're dealing with. It can be a huge part of your life, can't it?
Yeah.
Now, you've actually published, correct me if I'm wrong, you've published 9 books now?
Well, there's actually, there are 8 books that are published, all self-published through Amazon.
Fantastic.
Okay. There are another 9 that are still are in various stages of development.
Wow.
Okay. As everybody, I'm always hunting. I've got some deals going for a publisher, that kind of thing. I'm always looking for something new to branch out into.
Yeah.
There are 3 series now: Tales of the Petals, Valkyrie Darkness, and Legends. Valkyrie Darkness is what I started out in, and I wrote that in 2015.
Fantastic.
As a novella, and then I wrote Valkyrie 2 in 2016, and in 2016, both books won awards on the first time out against the pro. It was like, I got something good at this.
And that's absolutely fantastic. I mean, that must have, I was going to ask you about that. That must have given you such a massive boost.
Yeah, and then in 2017, after we started writing Legends in 2016, but the first book didn't come out till like 2017. And I met Mara in that period of time, and we won for Legends in 2016 or 2017 in the virtual Fantasy Fair event, and then turned around the next year, and we won for best fantasy series for Legends. We wrote 4 books in a year.
Wow, that's
4 Legends books.
That's just
and
amazing.
Then in 2017, Valkyrie got nominated again, and Valkyrie won. There were 3 books in that series, and I won 2 years in a row in 2 separate categories, back to back.
Fantastic. So, I mean, you'd recommend people enter competitions and get noticed that way? I mean,
it's a great way to get noticed. It's a great way to get, more fans.
Yeah.
I mean, there hasn't been that many real contests lately due to some things that went on, and I really don't know. But yeah, if you can afford to enter into a pro contest, most of those cost though.
Yeah.
And it's kind of beyond my range since I am disabled. But if you've got the entry money.
Yeah.
Win a professionally backed contest. See what happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're going to get all kinds of attention.
And also, I mean, even if authors don't get up to the top slots, it still means that their name's going to get seen, their book cover's going to get seen. They're going to get noticed and spotted by people in the publishing business, aren't they?
Yeah, and that's the big thing. I mean, you never know who's out there. I've been amazed at some of the people I've met on Twitter and on Facebook, and stuff like that. I've met professional writers. In fact, one of the people that I've met is Christopher Crosby Morris.
Oh,
he's writer. Him and his wife are the writers of the Thieves World series. His wife is the really famous one. His wife is Janet Morris.
Wow, that's fantastic.
And he and the Thieves World series was where I took the concept of the Black Rose from. The writing style that we use. Collaborative writing style. It's not an anthology.
Yeah.
Basically, what I'm doing is I'm running a text D&D game. And what we're doing is Mara and I set up the situation at the beginning of the book. It said, here we are. And we just write it.
That's just amazing. So tell me, how did you actually meet Mara?
I met Mara at an event, a Facebook event called Villain Wars. Oh. And at the time, this was in February of 2015, and she was writing a character called Mara, naturally, and I was writing Mal. And Mal was just, I started writing with Mara, and I'm going, wow. It's like, we're a magic, ain't we? It's like, and I'm going like, and she introduced me to this character called the Unotai, and Mal's going like, okay, we have a hive mind going on.
That's amazing, isn't it? I mean, it must have been sort of fate for you to meet a kindred writing spirit.
Yeah,
that would just. I mean, it sounds like you really enhance each other's creativity.
Yeah, we do, and it's amazing how much and funny how much we think.
Yeah. That's absolutely. I mean, it sounds like a fantastic writing relationship.
Yeah, I love her to death.
Especially as she's so good with the covers and everything else. I mean, it sounds fantastic. How do you find writing with another person? Because you're the first author I've interviewed that actually co-writes your books.
Right.
So what are the good points and bad points of actually having a writing partner?
Well, the good points is that writing by yourself is pretty boring. At least for me, it is. And the thing about it is, people don't live that way. I mean, we've lived that way recently, since everybody are. But normally, we're social animals. We don't hold the conversation by ourselves. And I find it a lot easier to write with somebody else who you can bounce ideas off of, or tell you this is not going to work, and we do that for each other.
Yeah.
We talk via Facebook Messenger every day. We have for the last nearly 6 years now. Wrote the first 3 Legends books entirely on Facebook Messenger.
Wow, that's just amazing.
We wrote the first 28 pages of Legends in one day.
That's amazing.
We wrote nearly, I think it was like 16,000 words or something like that. It was an amazing amount of work. That's just one day. And we got up like 8 o'clock in the morning and started writing on Facebook Messenger. We're going.
I mean, that's just absolutely amazing, and it must be nice as well, for both of you working together to be able to promote your books and everything else. It's just fantastic.
And I'm more or less the front man for the band.
Yeah.
I'm the public face. I'm the usually the one to see. Mara's the mom. She's got 4 kids. I know she's busy, especially now. But we complement each other quite well. I don't know what I do without her, frankly.
Yeah.
She's helped me through some tough times, and you know what?
Oh, it's amazing, isn't it, when you can have that support and encouragement and everything else that we need, because it's very easy to get disheartened and at certain periods, and it's nice to have somebody behind you saying, we can do this, we've got this.
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. I don't know what I do without them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I absolutely love getting involved with the Writers Rock group with Wanda, because we can do things like this, the author interviews, and keep each other going when we get bad times. But just so I'm just going to mention this now before I forget. because I hadn't had really chance to tell you about it. But on the Writers Rock group, we're doing an author boost to do with the photo albums. I've created a load of photo albums, including
I put every book I had in there
you
already.
Oh, you're so
and three of my banners, so I'm way ahead of you there.
See, this I knew we'd get on.
I was doing that while I was typing to you at the same time. It was like
you was multitasking. They're not supposed to be able to do that unless it's a remote control and a beer. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Where's the beer?
would be nice, wouldn't it? Mary's on. Hello, Mary. Thank you for joining us, darling.
Hi, Mary.
Oh, she was on the wrong page, but she's here now. She's good. I love Mary. She's absolutely fabulous. Oh, she said
she's one of the other writers in Black Rose. Right, she writes one of Malice's love interests, which is Dionysus of all people, and Mal calls him the god of party.
Oh,
it's been quite the torrid relationship. We wrote a kind of a spin-off story called Healing the Wounds. And apparently Mal and Gil have had this thing going on for quite a while.
Oh my gosh. She says Mark and Mara are a blast to write with.
Yes. I mean, we have a lot of fun.
I think it's absolutely fantastic. I think it's brilliant, as I said, when people can be creative together and share their passion for, fantasy or whatever their genre is. Now, I really like the fact that you are able to write not only like standard fantasy, but that you can do the dark and the epic fantasy as well.
Right.
What is your favorite? What type of fantasy is your absolute favorite?
Well, I like I said, I started with Tolkien, high fantasy.
Yeah.
I wrote fan fiction. I wrote basically at one point in the time in the fan fiction time, I wrote the entire Wars of Valyrian. I rewrote them.
Wow.
From my character's perspective, because my character started out. If you know anything about Tolkien at all, he's one of the firstborn. Okay, he's one of the original elves that crawled out of their little lake of Ceravinan and crawled out, and he's been around since before the first age of Middle Earth.
It's just fantastic.
And he starts out in Valinor, and he's like Samwise Gamgee. He's a gardener.
Oh, right.
And he works in Yavanna Kelman-Tari's garden and helps create the two trees of Valinor.
It's just amazing.
I
find it absolutely fascinating.
And I still have the stuff that I've written from the Tolkien roleplay fan fiction years somewhere.
Have you ever?
They're on my Google Drive somewhere.
Have you ever shared any of your fan fiction on places like Wattpad or anywhere like that?
Not recently. This was all of this was written on a site called One Ring.
I've not heard of that.
And I don't know if they're even around anymore.
Interesting.
I haven't seen anything from them in a really long time, so I don't even know they're around anymore.
Interesting. Might have to look at that. One Ring.
Yeah.
One Ring. Okay, I'll have to have a look at that. The
OneRing.net.
Okay, fantastic. Now, you're from quite a big military family, aren't you?
Yes.
Was that your parents, grandparents?
Well, I'm basically fourth generation military. Okay. My dad served in World War II in Korea. My grandfather served in World War I and World War II. I've had relatives that back to the American Civil War. That's how far back my military background goes. I myself only did 3 years in the Air Force.
That's awesome. And thank you for your service, by the way.
But I have an extensive knowledge of military history and extensive knowledge of history in general. I am an amateur historian. I don't have a degree. My primary field of expertise is World War I.
Right.
But I've studied. I'm fascinated. I've always been fascinated with history, and it shows in my writing. I'll especially with the Valkyries, they walk battlefields.
Yeah.
And I've mentioned Shiloh, and I've mentioned Bella Wood in World War One. I have a story in the works where I'm probably going to do it during this little thing, Malice of Dark Years, where Mal meets Adolf Hitler.
Oh, now that'll be interesting.
And she's the Aryan ideal.
Wow.
And part of the mythos of the SS that they meet her, and the Valkyrie battle armor is all black and silver, especially when they're hunting. And this is where Himmler gets the idea for the SS uniform.
That's very interesting. You're sort of connecting the dots between the two.
Right.
That's very interesting.
And that's the way I approach the stories. If I'm writing, especially if I'm writing an Earth story, I approach it from a historical perspective.
Yeah.
What if this happened? In fact, I've mentioned in the Valkyrie books that one of the Valkyries, a character by the name of Senna, fought in the Battle of Stalingrad. She was a sniper.
That's amazing.
And yeah, well, I'm talking about Shiloh. Gil references a picture he saw of them, of Mal and Miss, two sisters, standing in one of the hospitals after the Battle of Shiloh.
That's fantastic. Now, do you find it easy and inspiring to write such strong female characters? Because it's quite unusual, isn't it, for writers?
I mean, I can write male characters, but they're not quite as fascinating to me. I grew up in a household full of women.
Yeah.
I mean, I had three sisters and no brothers, and my mom, 4 crazy Irish women living in the same house. That time of the month was all the time. I never got to see a bathroom for the underwear and the pantyhose hanging up in it, and that time of the month was all the time.
Yeah, I feel for you.
And the cardinal rule as a male, it's always my fault. No matter what it is, it's my fault. You say yes, ma'am, and go on.
I'll tell you, my brother would feel your pain because I've got 2 sisters, and he was the youngest and the only boy, so he could so understand what you're talking about.
I finally feel a pepper when I was 18 years old, and then I enlisted in the military and never got to use it.
Oh my gosh! Now, do you think that the story from your I'm assuming that you heard stories from the military members in your family,
right. And that's where the origin of Valkyrie story comes from. My grandfather, the one that was in World War I, swore there were Valkyries out there. And I believed him. I mean, I'm Irish and Welsh. Spooks and specters are a part of my DNA.
Yeah.
Yeah, Grandpa. And the thing about it is, I include that there's a passage from Valkyrie 3 where Jack meets Mal, and that part of the book is done reality.
Wow.
Okay. I mean, I took my grandfather's story and I played, poetic license with it, but basically, that was in the trenches of World War I at Bella Wood, and he's going like 150 feet away. There the hell she was. I'm going like, oh shit.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And I understand you've got a great respect for the Wonder Woman character. And obviously in the films and in the comics, that's what she would be doing.
Right.
Is
helping the story of writing a fan fiction piece with her and Mal together. That would be interesting. And Mal?
Well, do you know what? I think it's just fantastic how how your imagination works, and how you can create, all these different scenarios and situations that people can relate to, especially with your gaming experience as well. Are you still a gamer?
Yes, very much so.
So you must be thrilled to bits with the quality of graphics nowadays.
Yeah, I've played every D&D game. I've played every Call of Duty game.
Yeah.
I played Skyrim, Elder Scrolls Skyrim.
Yeah.
I have to get the new one. It's like $100.
So the only reason that I'm familiar with all the games that you're talking about is because I've got three out of 4 of my children are big gamers.
Right.
So
well, tell them there are old people that play too.
Oh, they know.
We shoot you 15 times and jump off the screen.
I remember when my children were young and they were just getting into the old Xbox and everything else, and quite often I'd get them, Mom, can you come and do this for me? And I'd have to do that. Just so they could beat somebody or kill some monster. Faster, Mum, faster.
And I've been around for the whole evolution of the technology behind it.
Yeah, yeah.
And like so, I mean, I've beta tested every version of Windows since Windows 3.1.
That's the thing, isn't it? I mean, we are of the generation that has seen the most technological leaps in our lifetime. I mean, I'm 48, coming up to 49. I don't normally say that public. I've been in denial since I turned 40.
And I'll be 63 the 3rd day of January. There you go.
Well, as my mum says, it's when you start looking your age, you need to start worrying, and we don't. So we're good.
No. I've never acted my age. Are you kidding? That wouldn't be any fun.
But when I
listen to my voice tweet.
But when I was a kid, I remember us having a black and white television.
Yeah.
With only 3 channels. And when the 4th channel came out, and I was in like middle school, as you would call it, that was a big deal. Now I'm watching movies on my phone.
Well, you really want to hear something amazing? I was a computer technician.
Really?
The first computer I ever worked on, the way you troubleshot it, was you turned up the lights and changed the tubes that were dark. It was the vacuum tube.
That's crazy, isn't it?
And I've seen computers go from vacuum tubes to the machine I'm working on in my lifetime.
It's just shocking.
In 50 years.
That's just shocking. Now, because you've had experience fixing things like that and tinkering with them and everything else, do you use those sorts of life experiences for your books or incorporate them in some way?
Right. Because, I mean, I've incorporated a lot of the technological stuff into the Valkyries. Like the Valkyries are a genetically and magically engineered race.
Right.
They actually are a Kardashev level 5 civilization.
Interesting.
They're like Asgard. They are basically Asgard in the Thor movies. Their technology is so advanced, it's magic.
Yeah, yeah.
They have things like artificial intelligence computers. Mal can link into any machine going, any computer going. Mal is capable of space flight on her own.
That's just amazing. With the science fiction type technology and everything else, do you class your books as science fiction and fantasy?
Yeah. I mean, they've gone, in the course of writing these books, it's gone from basically a simple epic fantasy story to this space opera.
Right.
By the time you get to Legends, it's a space opera. Even the early books, the Valkyrie books, make reference to where the Valkyries come from. The Valkyries are an extraterrestrial race that has been around since the beginning of the universe.
Yeah, yeah.
their own mythology says that the first Valkyrie, Azor, was responsible for the Big Bang.
That's amazing.
And when we get into legends, Mal gets a hold of something called the Spear of the Stars, and this is what Azor did it with.
Right.
Now, Mal has no idea what this thing is.
That's
only she feels like, oh my God, look what I got.
Fantastic, isn't it? And what I like nowadays is that authors are able to blur genre lines or combine them because it's more acceptable nowadays,
right.
which I think is fantastic.
And to stay within a genre line is far too limiting.
I agree.
I mean, there's so many great ideas out there, and there's so many ways to adapt them, and there's so many ways to combine them and make them your own. Yeah. Why be stuck with one genre? It doesn't make very much sense. It never made any sense to me at all.
No, I absolutely.
And they're not, and the indies are not the only ones doing it. I mean, there's a lot of pros out there that do it all the time.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
I mean, and it's something that is basically, and it's really not gender driven. The whole industry is not really gender driven anymore.
No.
I mean, as far as the readership goes.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, it may be a little tough to get a book deal with some of them, but what you do what you can.
Yeah. Well, as you said, it's all about, putting yourself out there, building your following, building up your readership and everything else, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mary says, without them, Dio might never have been written.
Yeah.
Oh, I think that's absolutely lovely. I think that's lovely. Now, I've got 3 questions from other authors within the Writers Rock group. So Sachin Bakshi, I hope I've pronounced their name right, would like your feedback or guidance about building up a fan base.
Okay, well, fan bases are built one step at a time, okay? You have to get your name out there. I have a website. I have my Twitter accounts. I have Instagram accounts. I have author pages. I have my promotion group. Yeah. It's just getting your name out there as many places as humanly possible and keeping it out there every day. It's not something that happens overnight.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of those things, isn't it? If you're out of sight, you're out of mind.
And it happens rapidly.
Yeah, absolutely. I noticed that. I broke my ankle last September, and I was quite incapacitated. I was in too much pain to even think about anything else. You know what it's like when you did your back. It's difficult to try and focus.
You can't focus on anything.
Yeah. So I've been sort of playing catch up since then. But you're absolutely right, and you are so right about the author pages and the website, and because people want to feel connected to us as authors, don't they?
Right. And the thing about it is, if you want to really build a fan base, join places like Writers Rock and Writers Rock Readers, and there are dozens, literally dozens of promotion groups and pimp groups, and just put yourself out there. Just get yourself, find somebody that makes teasers, find somebody that or you make them yourself.
Yeah.
But you have to promote this. That's the only way you're going to get it out there.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to blow your own trumpet, basically.
Yeah, you mean this is the whole thing. Okay, we are writers. We are indie writers. We are supposed to be the most over the top, self-aggrandizing, shameless self-promotion people in the world. Most of us are. But we have to play it like it is.
Yeah, exactly right. Because so many of us are actually introverts, which is very difficult. But at the end of the day, I think the more you do it, the more you desensitize yourself.
Right.
And
it's the thing. I mean, nobody knows who you are. That's the whole thing. Nobody knows who you are. You're just a name.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Unless you do stuff like this, I mean, they don't see you.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can still get stay in your little shell, but be creative with it. Just go hog wild, post everywhere. At least that's what I do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now we've got another question for you from Shay. Thanks. She said, what is your biggest challenge as a writer?
Keeping the storyline straight sometimes. Storylines have gotten to the point where it's so complex that, I mean, I really have to think about where we are in the story to make sure I'm writing the right thing.
Yeah.
As far as, and remembering, where each character is and that kind of thing. So I basically have to plot out in my head where we are, when we are, and what we're doing.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's far more difficult to keep up with than just writing the story.
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, I don't do any plotting. I'm a seat of the pants sort of flyer. Basically, more than most of the time when we start a writing thread in the Black Rose, it's me and Maura have an idea, and that's about it.
Yeah.
And it's all driven by characters.
Yeah.
Mal's jabbering my ear, and somebody else holding my ear, and I'm going like, okay, guys, one at a time.
Yeah.
I don't jabber.
That's right. So how do you do that with Mara then? Do you write one bit and then when you've written as much as you can think of, she then takes over? How do you do it?
Okay, we take turns. Okay, basically, like I said, there's 4 writers in Black Rose right now. Mary Waldring, Davina Purnell, Mara, and myself. We've had as many as 6.
Wow.
So basically, the way that it works is that we all take turns. You basically read the post for you, which is the way it normally works, and then we react to that post. I think doing actions, doing dialogue, et cetera, and stuff like that. Normally, a writing thread takes about anywhere between 6 to 9 months to complete, depending on how everybody posts. We usually get to about 250 posts or a little bit more on a thread, and we start the next one.
That's amazing.
Now, basically, then Mara and I get together and we start editing, and about a year or so later, we have a book, and we out 18 that way.
It's just amazing. I think it's absolutely fantastic that, as I said, that you've found such creative people to actually work with, and you work so well together, obviously, as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's a whole family thing, and we have our fights. We have our little disagreements every once in a while. Mal goes out and loses a planet, and everybody goes crazy.
The planet.
She's lost 3 of them actually.
Oh my gosh!
And when she has no idea where it went or how to get it back, and that was back like 8 books ago.
Oh my gosh! But I would imagine that little things like that keep everybody on their toes and keep you all fresh and stuff. Now we got another question from Candice Hatter. She says, "Has your childhood affected your writing?"
Well, like I said, I started reading. Okay, my first books that I ever read were The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
The Hobbit was read to me when I was 6 by my great aunt Megan. My great aunt Megan was from the Welch Chapter family, and she was a bard, a traditional one.
Wow.
A real thing.
That's amazing.
And she would do all the voices, and I thought this was the coolest thing ever. And that's where I got my love of storytelling from.
Yeah.
And I mean, she always encouraged me to write little stories for her and that kind of thing. And that's basically how I got started. I didn't actually get started until 4 decades later. I mean, it's like, but yeah, I mean, I mean, I read it. When I was a kid, I read everything.
Yeah.
I think I read Dune when I was like 11.
That's
But I've
amazing.
always been a big fantasy fan.
Yeah, I think people underestimate the value of reading to children.
Yeah, I love reading to kids.
Yeah.
This is something that I'm familiar with. It's like, my own books are not for kids, but as far as that goes, there are, I love reading to them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it, how you can connect with children on such a positive level, and activating their imagination, and all these different questions and thoughts are popping into their heads, and I think that's amazing that your aunt inspired you to the point where it played a big part, as an adult.
Yeah, I give her all the credit in the world. The old heroine could tell a ghost story that would turn your hair white. Oh, she could. My God. Jeez, man. Jeez, man. Where did this come from?
I bet your parents were pleased. Did you get nightmares?
No, I thought it was cool. My sisters weren't fans, but I thought it was cool.
See, I'm a horror fan, so I can appreciate what you mean.
I thought it was cool. Monster hunting. Where we going with a minigun?
Now, Mary's got a question for you. She says, "Are you also helping other authors too?"
Yeah, I've helped Jerry Chavez for us. I did some technical advice for a serial killer book that she did.
Interesting.
I've helped other authors. I read stuff for people. I give them advice, especially fantasy authors. Fantasy authors have sent me stuff that I read as, well, you need to do this and this for your world building.
Yeah.
You I always tell them, just get through the first draft. Don't try to edit as you go. Let it just let it run out the way it's going to run out, and then we'll fix it.
Yeah, and I think that's good advice, because I learned from experience, it's better to just go with the flow.
Yeah, and don't worry about if somebody's going to like it or not.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, that's not the point at this. That's not the thing at this stage of the game. And even if they don't like it, there'll be somebody out there that will. And as long as you've got one person that likes your book, you've done your job.
Yeah, absolutely.
The whole rest of the world go to hell.
I agree with that. Now, I've got to apologise to Mary, because I actually directed her question a little bit wrong.
Oh, that's okay. I'll answer anything. She knows that.
Are you also helping other authors too? Mark, not me. LOL. I'm not quite. I think I've done something wrong here, but I'm not quite sure.
Don't worry about it.
But I'm sure Mary. I'm sure she'll tell me. I haven't got glasses on. So what are your plans for the near future at the moment? What have you got on the burner, as they say?
Well, as far as that goes, the big plan is getting an agent and a publisher. A major publisher.
Yeah.
I tell people, say, you don't have an agent, you don't got nothing. Because without an agent, you can't get a publisher, you can't get a movie deal, you can't get anything.
Yeah. And
I'm working on a publisher right now. We're talking. As far as that goes, but my real goal in the future is to have a publisher and an agent, maybe a TV series or a Netflix deal.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I'd love to see Charlize Theron play her. Malice, she's the only one that can play her, because I wrote the character after I based the character on her.
Right. Okay. And the fantastic thing is, obviously, because you've won awards for your books as well.
Yeah.
That goes a huge way, doesn't it? With
they look at everything.
Yeah.
They look at your social media presence. They look at what you've done. They look at how many you've written. They look at awards that you won, awards that you didn't win but entered anyway.
Yeah.
They're what they're looking primarily for is commitment.
Yes, absolutely.
If they are going to sign you, A, are they going to make money, and B, are you going to do what you're supposed to do?
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? I think, you know, agents and publishers nowadays want to see that you're going to work as hard as they are to make you successful. You know, and it is all about drive, and especially nowadays with the social media and the internet and everything else, you're absolutely right. They want to see how many followers you've got on what platforms and how many author pages you have on other sites and everything else.
And it's also part of getting back to the following and the reader base and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Twitter is really good at building a reader base. Okay.
Interesting. Now,
on Facebook, you're limited to how many people who can follow you. On Twitter, they're not.
No, and that's the thing, isn't it? It's like a double-edged sword, really, with Twitter. I've noticed.
You yourself at 280 characters, but you'd be amazed at how many agents are on.
Yeah, yeah. Now, do you take part in things like Pit Mad and all those type of events on Twitter?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm 0 for 4. What he seems to be interested. But the thing with PitMed is in Facebook, you're competing against so many people.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's like the last one I did was back in January, and I figured out the odds of like 60,000 to 1.
That's crazy, isn't it?
There's an amazing amount of tweets in one. It's only one day.
Yeah.
And there's an amazing amount of tweets that go out. There was like 285,000 of them.
That's just amazing, isn't it?
And you only get 3 pitches.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So per book. And now you can do as many books as you got, but you only get 3 pitches and you only get 1 shot.
Yeah, yeah.
So
and one is the first
thing. Getting a heart at PitMad are like 60,000 for 1. You have a better chance of getting hit by a bolt of lightning.
So you're better off, you know. Well, as you said, I mean,
there's several. They do. I mean, there's another thing about Twitter. They do these Twitter pitches all the time.
Yes.
That Facebook never hears about.
Yeah. No.
Okay.
No.
I participated in one called Pit Guard here a week or so ago.
Oh.
I got an inquiry from some publisher in, I think it's the UK or something, or somewhere, some little independent publisher, but they didn't really strike me as something that my books would really fit well in. You know, I was looking at the publishing going, I don't think so.
But either way, it's good experience, isn't it? It's valuable experience on sharing your books, getting involved with the writing community, which is a huge following on Twitter.
Right.
You know, writing community is massive, and you know they do things like Writers Lift, you know, and other book related.
Yeah, they have an extremely active writers database. Extremely active writers. I mean, I've got like 2,000 followers in like the last.
It's amazing, isn't it? But as you said, that's because of your hard work and because you've been engaging, posting, sharing, and actually being active on there.
Right. Yeah, and you have to be active. There's no way you can sit there and be a wallflower and get it done.
No. And also Twitter is very fast. Very fast paced.
Extremely high. It's extremely fast paced. I mean, and like I said, you only get 280 characters, so it's like, what you gonna say now?
Yeah.
Can't beat around the bush.
Exactly.
You have to get it
and catchy.
Yeah.
Now, what is your favorite platform that you like to use?
Well, my favorite platform is actually Facebook. Okay, that's what I'm on 90% of the time. I can post whatever I want. I can post, excerpts. I can post, my daily, teasers and promos and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no character limit involved there.
Yeah.
Instagram is primarily pictures. I don't do much basically on Instagram. because of the picture basis of it. I mean, it's like, well, if you don't have words to go with it, it's like, okay, it doesn't work very well. But I'm primarily on Facebook and Twitter. Facebook was.
And what do you think has been the most beneficial to you in reader engagement, sales, and that type of thing? Do you think
Facebook.
it has been Facebook?
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's free.
Exactly. It is free, and it's nice to be able to connect with people on a more personal basis, because readers do like to talk about the books that they've read and, share their reviews and everything else. I think it's absolutely fantastic. I am absolutely thrilled to have been able to talk to you today, Mark, because as I said, I'm a huge fantasy fan myself and horror. So I was so excited. So when things start opening up and start getting back to normal and everything else, do you hoping to sort of get out more and try to conventions and stuff like that?
Yeah, I was a big convention. I actually ran games at the convention back in the day, D&D games and that kind of thing.
Fantastic.
I'd love to go to a convention as an author.
Yeah.
I mean, that's been my goal for a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as that goes, but I ran games at conventions in Dallas and that kind of stuff. I ran a game at the World Fantasy Convention in Fort Worth in 1986.
Amazing.
Yeah, 1986.
Wow. I bet that was an absolute blast.
Oh, that was a lost weekend there. I met Robert Lynn Asprin, one of the people that wrote the Thieves' World books, and I drank a bottle of 100-year-old scotch and got shit-faced, and told dirty jokes and
cameras back then. You could have bribed him.
And I'm a big Star Trek fan, but I'm one of the Klingons.
Do you know what?
In the Dallas Fort Worth area, the Klingons are the ones that actually do the security for a lot of the cons out there.
That's fantastic.
So somewhere I have a picture of me in the full Star Trek The Next Generation headgear and the whole thing. I made a pretty mean looking Klingon.
That is absolutely brilliant. I would love to see a photograph of that. I grew up watching Star Trek. I absolutely loved them. And even now, if it's on, it's old reruns. I can't stop myself. Yeah. I have to watch it. Mary says she's surprised that you didn't meet, and she knew Bob pretty well.
She's talking about Bob Asprin. Yeah, we've talked about this before. I met him one time in Dallas. Like I said, it was around 1984, 85, and we just sat there. He was singing, and we started discussing books and his books and my aspirations and stuff like that. And said, "Why don't you write any of this stuff down?" Because he actually sat there with I was running a game, and this is where the Valkyrie idea and everything else came from. Okay?
Right.
From my D&D campaigns, and he said, "Chicks are scary." Now, an AD&D Valkyrie is a formidable freaking thing.
Wow.
Like, we're not talking something that first level character wants to even try to go up there and mouse swat him like a bug, For to cast a spell at her, and she looks like, okay.
Do you know what? I've got to read all your books, Mark, because I'm absolutely fascinated, and I love the characters that you pick for your books. It's just so inspiring. I can honestly see your books being movies.
Yeah, I can. I mean, that's how these books are written. I mean, I see it's a movie in my head. And basically what I'm doing is I'm typing 9,000 miles an hour trying to describe this.
Yeah.
I can see this as a Netflix series or a movie really, really easy.
Yeah.
It would also make a killer Japanese anime. I mean,
Yes.
I would be thrilled if James Cameron would do it like he did Battle Angel Alita.
Oh my God, that movie was so good.
Oh yeah, it was great.
Yeah, I was very, very impressed.
And the interesting thing about that movie, there's a weapon in D&D called a Vorpal weapon. The sword she has, that's a Vorpal weapon, and that's where that comes from.
Interesting.
From Battle Angel Alita, that whole concept of the D&D Vorpal weapons, that's where it comes from.
Oh my gosh!
And it's also the origin story for the Super Soldier.
Yes, it's amazing how things all tie in together, isn't it? James Cameron, I think he's one of my heroes. What he brings alive is just amazing.
And I can see him making Valkyrie Darkness or any of the other books but I'd insist he made them like Avatar. If you've never seen the 3D version of Avatar, it is like, wow.
I know, I'm so excited for the next one to come out. I can't believe it. I'll have to.
Yeah. If you get a chance to go see it in 3D, go.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's beyond amazing.
I know I can understand why it was running in the cinemas for so long.
Yeah. I got to see the 3D version of the original Avatar on my birthday.
Oh, that's amazing.
And I've always been a big James Cameron fan.
Yeah, he's just incredible, isn't he? He's fine. Well, listen, Mark, thank you so much. Oh my gosh, I can't believe how quick this interview just flew by. I think it was because I was having so much fun.
Time flies when you're having fun.
I know, right? Thank you so much for joining me today. And if you're only just watching this, if you've been back and you haven't been able to catch it live, please feel free to ask Mark questions in the comments. Yeah. Obviously, if you wouldn't mind keeping tabs, Mark, and checking to see if anybody's posting questions. And
if you guys have questions, you can get on Facebook and you can PM me.
There we go.
I have no problem with answering PMs from people.
There we go. If it's a general question, if you want to do it,
or if you have a problem like you're stuck or something, okay, write yourself into a corner and don't know how to get out, drop me a line. I'd be more than happy to help you.
Oh, thank you so much, Mark. I'll tell you that is really appreciated. Sometimes it's easy for everyone to have moments of getting stuck and not sure what direction to go in. So we appreciate that. Thank you so much. I'm going to share your links underneath the video. So you can check out your books and buy them. Obviously, we've got Father's Day. I know, right? We got a Father's Day coming up, which is June 21st.
Yep.
So if you want any of Mark's books for your father or
for anyone, buy one of my books. You're liable to get your dad a coronary, but okay. From one dirty old man to another.
I think they'll all have smiles on their faces, Mark. It'd be fantastic. Thank you so much, darling. I truly appreciate you spending time with me today. Yeah. And as I said, hopefully we'll be able to do this again in the future and talk about it.
I'm looking forward to it. That's back anytime.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much, darling. And
Thank you very much.
Thank you. See ya.
See ya.
Thanks for joining us.